And here you see everything that you need to make falafel, believe it or not. I've got some of the onion that we bought for really cheap at Target, and I also have some fresh spinach. That's one of the most expensive things that I bought on that shopping trip. Usually you use parsley for falafel, but you can use any bitter green thing, any herb, any bitter green like spinach. That's garlic, but we'll get to that later. Here's the baking soda that I bought, and some salt. And these are chickpeas that have just been soaked in water overnight. This is very important. It is crucial that you use dried chickpeas that you soak overnight in water. Do not use canned chickpeas. Do not use cooked chickpeas. They will not work as well. So soaking them overnight does soften them up quite a bit. They have absorbed quite a bit of water, and this will help. You can't use like dry chickpeas. And then this is the garlic. This is not included in my very, very cheap groceries at Target week. Neither are these spices, but they are going to make the falafel taste so much better. You also need a food processor to make falafel. I guess in the super olden days they just like used a mortar and pestle or something, but a food processor is really handy for this sort of thing in these modern times. So you just dump everything in there, and there's the salt and the spinach and the onions and the chickpeas and the spices, everything, and you just pulse it. Do not add any water or anything else. You might be tempted to, but don't. Just keep pulsing it and pulsing it and pulsing it until you get like this very fine wet sand sort of consistency. Watch it pulverize before your very eyes. See, I would not want to do this with like a mortar and pestle or like 2 knives. Anyway, here it is, our beautiful wet sand mix there. That sounds very appetizing. And you dump it into a bowl. And then this is the part where if you are a beginner at making falafel, you're going to run into some issues maybe with your falafel staying together. The more experienced you get, the easier it is. See, I'm squeezing it to show you kind of what the consistency is and that it is sort of staying together. And you can add some flour. So I recommend only adding, like, once you get experience with this and you feel more confident, only add like 1 tablespoon of flour, if any flour. And you can also use chickpea flour, incidentally, if you want to make this gluten-free. But since this is a video and it's for the internet and I wanted my falafel to stay together and look pretty, I added way extra flour. I added like 4 tablespoons of flour. This is fine. Like, your falafel will taste fine and everything. It's not going to be bad. It just gives it like a breadier, gummier consistency, which isn't ideal. So do as I say and not as I do. But if you're a beginner and you're really scared about your falafel falling apart, add extra flour, and also do what I'm doing right here as an airplane is flying in the distance and you might be able to hear it in the recording. You have to like slap it back and forth between your hands as you're forming it into your desired shape, because that will get a lot of the excess air out of your falafel, which will help it stay together. Another thing that helps your falafel stay together, and I did this off camera, but I'm going to mention it now, there's a recipe in the video description, by the way, that explains this in better detail. Anyway, you want to chill your mixture before you form it into these lovely balls. So that's another tip to help them stay together. And I just have them on a lovely stained silpat. It is stained, it is not dirty. And then this is a nice lovely cast iron skillet that I am heating with just some oil, like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of oil, and you very gently lower them in. Don't overcrowd the pan too much. The whole point of falafel is to get them nice and brown and crispy. Look at how beautiful they are, just bubbling in there. So I do this, this recipe makes about 12 falafel, so I'll do it in like 2 batches in my cast iron skillet. Cast iron is the best for any kind of deep or shallow frying because it retains the heat and redistributes it very evenly throughout the oil in the pan. And watch them bubble away. Ooh. Anyway, you need to fry them for a couple minutes per side. You can actually just like start flipping them as soon as you see that their bottoms are brown. See how lovely and brown that is? And you can give them a couple flips like during the cooking process. It doesn't have to be like you cook them on one side until that side's done, and then you cook them on the other side till that's done. It's like, no, you can kind of flip them back and forth and back and forth. And I'm giving these their first flip. I don't know why those little spots didn't get brown, but I flipped them over again and they got brown later. And then after you're done, you want to drain them on a wire rack on top of paper towels. Don't drain them on just paper towels because then they can get a little soggy. It's nice to have them on a wire rack for aeration. And you may notice I'm using 2 forks to flip these and to handle these. I find that just works a lot better than a giant, like, bulky spatula. It's easier to navigate around in the pan in with all the little falafels. And there's our half dozen done. Listen. Beautiful scraping noise there. And then you just fry up your second half and that's it. I'm serving them with some rice and spinach. They'd be great with a sauce, but I didn't make the sauce for this video. And just to look inside, as you can see, maybe you can't see, but they are a little tiny bit gummy because of all of the extra flour that I added. So don't add as much flour if you don't care if your falafel fall apart while you cook them the first time. Anyway, thanks for watching!